Well, welcome back to the Problem Solve podcast. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Jayde from Jayde Matheson. Hi, Jayde.
G'day, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on board.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've been looking forward to chatting to you. I know we've been trying to line it up for a couple of weeks.
We have.
And we finally made it happen.
Yeah.
So, Jayde runs Jayde Matheson. How long has Jayde Matheson been going for now?
Yeah, in essence, the business in totality, it originally started as a derivative of the receivership of the Oracle building, and it was bought in through Quartermentho. So it was originally called KM Sales and Marketing. Todd Matheson, my business partner, joined me about 7 years ago when we were marketing the Star Residences to head up that project for us. And probably nearly 4 years ago now, Matt, we rebranded. So same team. We've got a really long-term team that have been with us that are fantastic at their craft. And about 4 years ago, we rebranded Jayde Matheson.
Nice. I know we've worked in and amongst each other on different projects throughout the years. But you guys have been fortunate enough to work on some really landmark projects across the coast. Did you maybe want to touch on some of the projects you've sold out?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've kind of been in a really fortunate position where we've had, the opportunity to work for local developers right through to, international business people, the likes of Paul Little and Star and Far East Consortium. So some of the projects we've done, we did the first tower at Star Casino for Chow Tai Fook, Far East Consortium and Star. We did the Oracle many moons ago for the Nicofrides family, who we're still incredibly close with and spend a lot of time with around the traps in the industry. We do a lot of work with Paul Gideon from S&S Projects down the southern end. So we've done Flow Awake and Esprit. We're currently in the process of selling through Radia for him, and that's on that Rainbow Bay pocket where, as a matter of fact, right now as we speak, we're settling out Rockpool Rainbow Bay as well.
Nice. That was a very successful project from all accounts.
Yeah, look, that Rainbow Bay pocket's been exceptional. It's so special. It's like it's almost detached from the Gold Coast, but yet it's right in and amongst it and close enough. It's this strange mix of northern New South Wales meets the Gold Coast, but almost so far removed from both. So, look, we've been in there and we've executed what is now sort of, as I said, on our fifth large-scale project there, and it's going well.
You guys are specialists in the area.
It's been really good.
I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on today with you, and one of the things I've observed working in and around you and with you on jobs throughout the years is you guys seem to read the market really well and know where to get the sales from. And what I mean by that is we've gone through periods where you've sought sales from overseas to get projects off the ground. You've sought sales locally and across Australia. So I just wanted to get an insight into where you see, because the market, I think at the moment is very challenging because we've got the affordability issue. We're struggling in Southeast Queensland with builders. So we've got these dynamics in the market at the moment that are challenging. And I think sales on the face of it look really easy. But when you start looking at the data, I do think you're having to work a lot harder for the sales. So Jayde, one of the things I wanted to have a chat to you today about, and I was interested to get your opinion, is you guys have always had the ability to get sales from multiple sources. Through over the years when we've worked together, I've seen you guys get sales from overseas, locally, and also interstate. And being able to read the market and understand where to get your sales from is super important. Where do you guys currently see the market at the moment?
Yeah, I think, look, the sales space, in particularly in projects, no matter how you look at it, it is time in market and it is having a long-term mentality because at the top of the market, things are flying. You are, whether you like it or not, and however we want to package ourselves up, there are times in the market where you are taking orders. And, that is a wonderful thing, but that is only a period in time.
Yep.
And a lot of large-scale projects in particular go right across a cycle. So we might find ourselves at the commencement of the project opening an office in China, which we did for a 4-year period.
Yeah.
And in that space, we work through a variety of channels that span the entire country, bring it back through to our head office, which was at that particular time in Shanghai. And that would sell down a portion of the project to hit our pre-sale requirement, and then we might move into a retail campaign. So there's many ways, Matt, that we do go about sales, but it's through referral groups, it's
Yep.
through local real estate agencies. You know, we have great relationships with key local agents in market that specialise in projects, and we're happy to work with them. Our mandate as a company isn't about revenue, it's about being in market, executing projects for our clients. And that's what we've done, and that's what we'll continue to do. And in my belief, the only way to do that effectively is by being able to reach other people's
Yeah.
networks and databases as well.
It's sustainability over a long term.
It is.
And I think what I've seen you guys do is at the start of a project, put together a strategy. Do you want to talk to that of what you do with your clients in terms of putting together that strategy? And it may be a 4-year strategy, it may be a 2-year strategy. I've seen you guys do both. But yeah, do you want to maybe talk through that process that you take your clients through?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. And it's really become more of an open book exercise. The challenge we find is when someone comes to us and says, sell this product. This is what it is. We know boats. This is how the project's going to look. Often that's a lot more difficult. What we like to do is get in at grassroots where we can. We understand that's not always the case. But for us, the strategy lies heavily around funding. It's heavily around the consultants we're working with. When has the builder got the capacity, if there is even a builder appointed? When have they got the capacity to start construction? And then we reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
Because for us, there is the other piece which is cost of sale. There's a cost associated with going through an external offshore channel group. There's a cost associated with printing 10,000 brochures. Seminars in Hong Kong or Singapore, they're expensive to run.
Yeah.
So for us, what we need to understand first and foremost is what is the backbone of the project? Who are the consultants on it? If we're working with a development manager like yourself, how is it going to look? When do we need to hit certain milestones? And we can then design the building, and we can then also design the campaign that we're going to run around that.
Yep. And I think getting involved at the start is super important because you know what's going to move. You know exactly what stock the market's after. And I see that as a step that's missed quite a bit. Clients will go off and get a development approval, start the design process, and not incorporate their marketing team into that.
Yeah.
And it's one of our pet peeves because pre-sales and launching the project is one of the single most important points in a project because that's going to dictate whether the project gets off the ground or not. So I see that as a very, very, very key part of the process. And when we've worked together in the past, that's something that, we've been able to do is get involved and understand unit sizes, bedrooms, bathrooms, key features, amenities. I think that's super important to have early on because it makes your job a lot easier in the execution of the sales.
It certainly does. And all of those factors combined allow us to make more educated decisions. And I think rather than, taking the approach that you may take on an established home where there is a set formula of what's working in the current market, is it an auction, is it not an auction, what we do is so fluid and there's so many moving parts. And what's been really key to us of late is leveraging the brand and reputation of the consultants as well and bringing everyone in on the journey. Our most successful projects are where we have a development team that are all super involved.
Yeah.
If I look at Paul Gideon's projects, I look at John Drew's project in Main Beach Lagoon, I look at the people that sit around the table day in, day out there, and it is relationships of complete and utter trust, and we all empower each other. And, that level of trust is key in this market to making sure that a project's completed, not just put into market.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting observation because from the delivery side, if you have complete trust in your project partners, which is your sales, your building, your consultants, and then that branches off to your engineering and your architects and your town planners, etc. If you have complete trust in that development team and you're trusting the expertise that they each have and you allow them to, I suppose, shine in their individual areas, ultimately you're getting the best individuals to complete the project, and you're getting the best outcome because you're sort of just trusting and allowing it to flow. What I've observed is that is being translated in the market because people are looking at the development team, and if they're a reputable development development team members, whether it's a reputable architect, engineer, funder, that displays confidence to the market.
It does.
And it helps the marketing campaign. And the reason it does that is because the team delivers, because they're trusted to deliver. So I think it's a holistic approach where if you have the right team members involved, they're able to deliver and execute. It really gives it gives momentum to that sales and marketing piece of it.
It does. And you know, Matt, there's been intricacies that have crept into the market over the last 3 or 4 years where, you know, the rising construction prices, we've had to go back and ask for additional funds from purchasers. And, you know, that in itself has just added so many extra layers of complexity. But that layer of complexity actually is spread across the whole consultant team. So what we've seen is previously everything was very much put in a box where you had your role in the project and, you know, Jayde Matheson, you are sales and marketing, and that is what you do and it's where it sits. Going through this process of actually having to interact with clients again, sell units for the second time, all those type of things, it's really pulled teams, I believe, closer together or further apart.
Yeah, and if they didn't come closer together, the project fell apart.
Absolutely.
And what happened when we went through that process too on certain jobs is if it brought the team together, and we saw our role in that as keys to hold it together, because you couldn't just blame one party for it because of the situation and the dynamic with all the costs. But once they brought it all together, the relationships formed actually didn't finish on that particular job. It spanned future jobs.
Very true.
Yeah. So I'm sure you would have found the same.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. And it's those difficult conversations, as we all know, whether it's personal relationships or it's business relationships, that bring people closer together. And, you know, communication through this particular process, in particularly when there's been so many moving parts around escalation in price and things like that, like that's about as sensitive as it could get.
It's the pain point.
Absolutely. So on every level, with every stakeholder. So
including your client.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that conversation around, you know, why has this happened? You know, I've already signed a contract. Why is it at this price? You know, and on the flip side of that for us, talking to the developer about, right, well, what's happened to the gross realisation of the project through this period of time, and how do we make this a fair and amicable result for you, the developer, the purchaser, and everyone that sits in between.
Yeah.
And it's just an extra level of complexity within not only our role, but the role of anyone else involved in the project. So it's interesting times.
Yeah, it was funny because you had your total cost number going up and then your GR. So the only way to do it was to sit around a table and go, right, where's TDC?
Yeah.
And where does GR need to get to? Yeah. And can we get it there?
Yeah. And, you know, like Rockpool's a great example, and just talking to Rockpool because it's settling today. You know, we had people in there, we had to go through that exercise. You know, they had massive escalation in construction costs. The project went over a 4-year period, 4.5-year period. And, you know, there's people ringing us at the moment who made the decision to pay that uplift and they've absolutely killed it. Now, maybe that won't be the case everywhere, but I think it's through that transparent communication, which Todd and I pride ourselves on, you know, have the hard conversation and be open and honest about it. You know, we had people that decided to walk away and that's fine, you know. But it is nice to see that, you know,
rewarded for...
There are the people that did get in there and have that belief behind the development are now being rewarded. Yeah. So, yeah, it is. It's good to see.
And I remember talking to you through that period because obviously, it was a challenging period. What did you guys have to do internally as a team? Because your administration and I suppose what was required of you went up overnight in terms of redisclosure, sitting down with all the... And it wasn't just on one project, because I know at the time you were working on multiple projects.
Yeah.
So what did that look like internally for the Jayde Matheson team? And what did you do differently to lead your team to be able to execute all that?
Yeah, I think there's probably one pivotal moment that occurred within the business. And the first project to actually have to go back and ask for additional funds was the Munro in Palm Beach. And Adam Lacey's a wonderful client of ours and a great friend of ours. So it was a real, I guess we sat down first and foremost as friends looking down the barrel of a situation that had never been faced before.
Yeah.
And it was, how do we work through this? So, I had our in-house legal working on it. Adam, of course, had his team working on it. We had PR in the background. What's it going to look like? What are people going to say? I've never done this before or had to do this before. Who has the conversations? What do they look like? So it hasn't been the greatest. I've been through this exercise many times now, but I do vividly remember, and it was a real, again, it was all hands on deck. Sharon, who's pivotal to my business, was in the trenches working with lawyers, understanding the process, because for us, we know verbatim, and I am so risk averse, it's out of control. I drive my stuff mad with it. But this wasn't part of our dialogue because it had never happened before.
Yeah.
So I was sort of doing backflips going, right, what have we done? What have we said? How have we handled it? How does this roll through? So it was all hands on deck, even marketing, like we've got an in-house marketing person that basically runs everything from A to Z, whether we do it ourselves or it comes through from a third-party consultant. And it was, going through, reviewing the marketing, yes, we're going to go back for additional funds, but at the same time, have they had to value engineer any of the construction at the same time? So I'm looking through our renders, I've got the guys looking through absolutely everything. I'm dealing with the builders that we were looking at appointing at the time, going, right, well, can you explain this and that? So it was it's an extra layer, but it's what it takes to get it done. And that's really all there is about it. What do you do? There's two ways to handle it. You get in, get your hands dirty, you make the best of a challenging situation. And, to a degree, it's now 3.5 years later become the norm. So for us, it's really additional pieces to the puzzle. Like when I started this game and I was working for Nikon, I was so fortunate to work for Bill and Con. It was epic. We're a sales team. And what did we do? We got leads and we sold. I then progressed in my career and sort of had the sales team working for me at the very end. And, that's what we did. Now it's a much broader role. And I don't think that's just the project marketer's role that's growing. It's every consultant has taken on a larger workload. If we rewind 3 years, I'm sure the scope of works for MG Group on any given project would be a hell of a lot smaller than it is today.
There's a lot less complexities.
Totally.
Totally. And things were a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Things just take a little bit more time now because of the complexities in the market.
Yeah. And look, what I think is really lovely and probably comes back to your question, Matt, about selling and how we do things and who we use. I am seeing right now the market is getting tougher. There is no two ways about it. Our business, our lead volume's down. The lead quality is a lot better. And our revenues are higher. But the reason it's higher is because if we look at 4 years ago, everything was half the price that it is today.
Yeah.
So really the whole gamut of our business has swung, and we're really having to pivot with that. We've just built new office space in Mermaid Beach, and, feasibilities are tight, right? We're all talking about it. Construction costs are the challenge. So it's what can we do as a group to still deliver the service that we deliver, the results that we deliver. And we've built a dedicated sales space for small scale projects that we can actually execute our entire sales track with immersion room out of our office. But that again is just an evolution and things that Todd and I vowed never to be complacent. So for us, it won't stop there. We just have to keep going.
Just keep evolving.
Because we know that the industry will have to evolve or it will not exist.
So I just want to touch on one of the points you said there. I mean, things are double what they used to be. You know, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we were talking 6.5, 7,000 a square meter, 8,000 a square meter was, oh, wow, like crazy talk.
Yeah.
Now to get something to work, you're 11.5, 12,000 a square meter. So in terms of your lead volumes and how you're approaching your sales, that has cut off, I assume, a lot of buyers. That jump in price. How has that changed your mindset in terms of how you market the projects, your cost of marketing, cost per lead?
Yeah.
Can you maybe touch on how you see that differently now? Because that's a big change in such a short period of time, and I just wouldn't mind your insight on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we're really granular on the data. Casey within our marketing team lives in our CRM, and for us, cost of lead's something we talk about 300 times a day. You know, it's crazy, but it's imperative when we're spending other people's money. I feel as though where we're at with marketing, with leads, with data, is at a really pivotal point, because a lot of the traditional methods that we used to get retail leads, a la realestate.com, Domain, they're still there, but they're certainly not the be-all and end-all that they were, and it takes a whole gamut of different ways to pull these sales together. And the marketing piece in itself is changing, and it's so heavily driven by data. So within the business, our investment in CRM and working out where these leads come from, where the next sales are going to come from, is so important, because the numbers talk.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it might, the data's probably showing an older demographic, or a demographic on, especially on your Rainbow Bay projects, maybe an interstate demographic. So is that how you approach it? You look at the data and then you set up the strategy to target those key areas?
Yeah, we do, definitely. And Rainbow Bay is a really great example of it, where I had a conversation with the media and they were saying, where are your buyers coming from? And I said, I've had this incredible surge from the northern beaches of Sydney. Anyway, I went back to the office and Casey from the team pulled the data for me, and we actually hadn't. It had just been the noisiest buyers had been these 3 excellent people that all knew each other from the northern beaches of Sydney, had bought into a particular project. But when we ran back through and we actually ran the data, it was incredible. On Spree, we were all but sold out of 5 units, and 70% of our buyers were from in a 10-kilometre radius of the site,
wow.
Which blew my mind, because there's the piece of the noise and then there's the piece of the data. So for us, it's, you've got to really get into it in a granular fashion.
Yeah, because, I mean, that could be an uplift in the area and value over that period of time, and that demographic's choosing to reinvest in that area.
Absolutely, And look, the affordability piece is huge.
Yeah.
It's, we have 14 projects in market at the moment. My cheapest 2-bedroom unit last Saturday was 1.47 million. It sold. It was in the launch of this great project that we've just kicked off called Bellevue in Main Beach for Ray Bashir Marina. It's beautiful. We had an incredible launch there and uptake, sort of 16, 17, 18,000 a metre on beautiful 2-bedroom stock. Our launch on Saturday, we had an incredible uptake and result. But across that portfolio of 14 projects, that is our cheapest 2-bedroom stock sits over $1.5 million. Yeah. So affordability, whatever the broad brush of that meaning is, is something that...
And who's buying a $1.5 million 2-bedroom apartment?
Yeah.
What's your...
Yeah. I think what's happened is the Gold Coast has finally become a place where it's not just about views. It's about location as well. So that $1.5 million apartment, we've had buyers that are downsizers. Still a lot of downsizers out there, Matt. Incredible amount of downsizers selling their homes, moving into a unit. That's massive. Also, young professional people that traditionally may have spent $1.5 million at Robina on a dry block are now going, you know what? Like, I can live my life. The kids can share, the young kids can share a bedroom, you
Yep.
know, because I want to be in between the ocean and Tedder Avenue or whatever it may be.
Yep.
And that's the difference with the Gold Coast now. It's become about actual location rather than just views and
Yep.
looking at the water. You know, if you look at whether it be Nobby's Beach, you know, you tucked in, you know, 405 square metre blocks. I live in a duplex there, you know, and we live there because of the location. Our outlook is other houses, but it's a great place to be and a great place to live, and that is the Gold Coast. That is what's going to service our public transport. So we're finding, although those price points are starting at $1.5 million, people are stretching themselves to get there because it is about the lifestyle.
And the convenience factor.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. Without a doubt. I mean, if you look at property that was backing onto the Gold Coast Highway, whether it be Palm Beach or Mermaid Beach,
Yeah, I remember.
you know, that there was capping out 3 years ago at eight grand a metre.
Well, you couldn't get it to work.
And
Yeah.
now you're looking at it and, you know, you've got projects that are launching along there at the moment and, you know, small two-bedroom units are sitting at 16,000 a metre on the highway. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then the availability of that stock comes up too, right? Because it is supply and demand.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is.
So you've got to get in to get that location while the Gold Coast is growing, and I think that that's what's happening too. People are realizing that they want to be in Main Beach or Palm Beach, and those sites are pretty hard to come by now.
They are.
So it's interesting how the Gold Coast has changed in such a short period of time in that sense.
It is. You know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were looking at larger scale sites. You know, you look at Oracle and you look at that basement, football fields underground. It's amazing, right? Lagoon, very similar. But outside of that, every one of our projects is governed by car parks. Hence the reason we're seeing so much half floor and full floor stock in market at the moment is because of those floor plates and those sites that, you know, you're having to deal with and try and make work. So there certainly is a lack of stock in, you know, that smaller floor plan type stock, whether that be, I mean, one bedrooms, it's virtually impossible to make work, right? Because they take up a car park. So it's like, you know, and I think the last one bedder that we sold down at Kira went for just under 900,000. So, you know, your price points on one bedders are getting right up there as well. Yeah.
And I think when you look at the data in terms of that supply and demand, you know, there's not enough dwellings in planning and building approval stage at the moment to deal with the predicted demand on the Gold Coast. So there's essentially going to be a shortfall. I think at the moment, 4,000 dwellings are required on the Gold Coast to keep up with demand. So you've got this undersupply issue that we've got, and it doesn't look like it's going to go away.
No.
So what do you think, like, what's your take? I know from a construction point of view and a cost point of view, I think that that's going to remain tough for a period of time. I think the availability of builders is going to be a problem for, you know, for the foreseeable future. I can't see that changing overnight. So we are going to continue to struggle to get projects to stack up.
Yeah.
We've reached a point in the market now where you're saying, you know, some of these projects are 17, 18,000 a square metre. So do you think we've hit a ceiling, or do you think that the undersupply in the market is going to drive prices up again?
I think it will depend on several things. I think to a degree there's been enough momentum in the project to have provided a level of forgiveness on quality over the last 4 or 5 years, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I think what is certainly happening now is there is that proper flight to quality. People are understanding what they want and what they should get. And there's no room for misrepresentation on our side.
Yep.
There is no room for not delivering what you put forward. And I think that is where challenges will occur. From a price point perspective, people are willing to pay for quality. if people can see a clear track record of building beautiful projects, it makes our job infinitely better, easier, more straightforward. So for us, there's that piece as well where, you know, we've been guilty in the past of saying to people, okay, well, yeah, look, we'll sell it for you. It's not what we would have designed, but we'll sell it for you and we'll go out there. For us, I don't think there is the ability as a business to continue to do that. You know, we can't do this for practice, neither can any business. And I feel as though that quality piece and that delivery piece and actually executing things as close as you can to a timeline are just imperative.
Yep.
That it is just imperative. So I think all of us as property professionals need to be very conscious of who we work with, what jobs we take on, and also working together as a collective development group to ensure that what we say as salespeople is delivered at the other end.
So is it the fact that there is a volume of buyers out there, is it the confidence that needs to be portrayed in the project in terms of the delivery team and the quality of finish and the builder, and I suppose that safety net because we've had all these horror stories over the last couple of years about projects going wrong and not being delivered. So is it a case of making sure that the confidence in the project across all those different areas are portrayed to the market and executed on? And is it just a case of that is what's going to secure a project to get those higher GRs or that higher sell price? Is that how you're seeing it?
It is definitely, and I think it's a high level of transparency. It's not, here's a beautiful project, Hutchies will be the builder, some guy will be the developer, and this is what you'll get. It is like, who's the funder?
Yep.
Who's this? Like our sales strategy was always years ago, bring them in, hug them, roll through the process, show them everything, make sure everyone's fully informed and sell. Now, for us, because of some other projects that are just missing the mark by so much.
It's hurt the market.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I'll get people in and go, right, this is what we're doing. This is the whole piece of the puzzle, the sales team will do thing. And they'll go and look at that job, that job, that job, that job. There are 4 competing jobs.
Yep.
They're your choices. Ask them these questions.
Yep.
And if they can tell you who's going to build it, when it's going to be finished, all of these things, consider it.
Yeah, go.
9 times out of 10, they'll come back because people appreciate the transparency.
But also, I think there's a higher emphasis on education now. So the buyers are more, because of what's happened and because of the horror stories. There's this emphasis now on the buyers being a lot more onto it in terms of who's funding it, who's the builder, what's the background of the builder, what previous projects have they done, who's the architect, we get more than ever. Who's the project manager?
Absolutely.
What's MG Group delivered in the past?
Yep.
So I think it's a good point made in terms of the complexity that it's not a one size fits all anymore. The complexity of the industry's definitely heightened, and it's a dynamic where you have an undersupply in the market, but that doesn't guarantee you a sellout on your project.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's what I'm hearing in this conversation, and that's how I'm seeing it too. The buyers are a lot more astute.
They definitely are. We're down to the last few units on a project called Faro in Broadbeach that we've been working on for the last couple of years. It's a joint venture between Damien Dove at 4 Point and Bottega Property Group, and we've had an incredible journey on it. We've had record penthouse sale. It's always great working with a builder developer, right, with a great reputation. But, if I look at that project as, a really great example of what it takes to get something from A to Z, it wasn't without its challenges. Yeah. But you've got, like, a builder developer in Damien Dove who is just exceptional in front of the camera, is always happy to meet with the clients, is super hands-on. You've got his guys in-house that are brilliant, in DM. The builders are always welcoming on site for us. We're welcome in their office, vice versa. That's what it takes,
Yeah.
plus, who were the architects on the job? They were down the hall from our old office, right? So it was like this great open door policy, but that level of transparency where I can march into Danny Jurek or one of the guys at Plus, whoever it may be, and it's not like, oh, okay, what project are we talking about? It's right, we're here, we want to talk about fire, this, and this. And it takes that whole team.
Yeah.
Like, who's funding the job? You can't hide behind it, We did it at Lagoon. Like, we had the wall in the display suite as you walked in looked like a billboard because it had every single consultant. And why did we choose them as part of the team? Or why did John Drew choose them as part of the team? It's pivotal. It is absolutely pivotal. And having a developer that's personable enough to either pop his head on camera if he feels comfortable or meet with the clients, I feel is key.
Yeah.
Because that in itself for a purchaser...
That's complete transparency.
Complete transparency, yeah.
And you have access to the guy who's behind it.
Yeah. And, Lagoon, again, is just such a great story. I think it's 259 units. We've got 16 left to sell. We've got John, it's he and his wife, Georgie, are the entire business. But John's more than happy to come in. We have events. We invite everyone to come in and have a glass of wine. We can update them on the upgraded glazing or whatever it may be throughout the project. And it's just received so well. And that is what I love about project marketing is it isn't just black and white selling of real estate. It's a bigger picture. There are events, there are relationships. And if you've got a team that's all willing to, put 100% in and attend, the journey can be great and the result can be epic. And I think Lagoon, in the market it's been in, Twin Tower project, 259 units with 16 left to go, and we've only just topped out. Like, they're the projects the Gold Coast needs.
Yep.
That's what our city needs in totality. So not only is it a great story for the consultants and the developer, like a large-scale project like that, I was in the receivership of the Oracle. It was horrible, And they're the large-scale projects in the past, like, Seoul, Hilton. That was challenges. So our city's now seeing projects like Signature, like Drew Group's Lagoon. They're happening. Like, that is, we are back on our feet as a city, in my opinion, and that's what excites me.
Yeah. And you're at the forefront of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it,
What's the main thing about project marketing that you love?
The relationships are a really special piece of the puzzle. And the reason I say that is it's quite amazing how much you can actually rely on people when you do need a couple of sales to get something out of the ground.
Yep. It's
never easy, but it's really great to be able to pick up the phone to somebody that you spoke to 10 years ago and talking to them about where they're at. I had a project that we worked on and I needed really quickly to get 3 sales. And I've got this beautiful Chinese girl that used to work for me for many years, Joanne, who's a dear friend, and she just helped us out dramatically and got us to a point where we could pull the building out of the ground within a 2.5 month period to get 3 sales unconditional. And, for me, that's a special part of what we do. It's very different to general real estate, just in the nature of the way that it all exists and is executed. The other thing is, I think it's, I love architecture, I love design. We've been really fortunate to work on some really beautiful developments. I'm really, really honoured and thankful. Sahel Abedian mentors me, these relationships surrounding people who build beautiful things.
Yeah.
I love that. I really love that piece of project marketing. And I love the fact that you can drive around the Gold Coast and, there's a lot of beautiful buildings that aren't just somewhere that people live, but it's, visually spectacular.
Yeah.
It's good for the city.
And essentially you're creating homes in the city.
Yeah. To a degree, it's, I get so passionate about the Gold Coast. There's been times in my life when I was younger where I probably was like, oh, geez, I wouldn't mind moving to Sydney or Melbourne, but we just have so much to offer now. I think if, you look at the cafe culture, We've always had the beaches and things. There's just such a holistic offering. And it's so beautiful for people from interstate and internationally to come here and go, how good's this? You know, like that to me goes, that wasn't something that occurred 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Now people are going, my goodness, you know, this is exceptional. We've had such an epic week on the Gold Coast and there's beautiful hotels to stay in, whether that be, you know, the Mondrian or the Langham or whatever it is. But those things are here for international guests. So I feel, and this probably runs back to your piece on prices and where's the market going to go. You know, there's part of me that has seen this escalation of prices doubling in the past 4 years, and you go, can it keep going? I don't think by any stretch of anyone's imagination it'll go at the trajectory that it has over the past 4 years. But what I do believe is our city is, you know, getting so much more, whether it be the light rail, whether it be the Sunnies getting into the finals, how good, whether it be new restaurants and cafes that are continually opening, you know, everything that's happening. Like, we are evolving as a destination. So, like, do I think it will go backwards? No, I don't. Not at all. Do I think it'll go crazy like it has? No, I don't. But I do think that we're going to have a really nice, steady period where it may plateau a bit and it may rise a bit. But I feel that there is the sign of an international city. And we've never had that before because it's always been boom or bust.
Yeah, and we're in. So what you're saying is you see a period of stability for the city.
Yeah. And look, I'm not an analyst, obviously. By no stretch am I the most analytical person, but I do feel that we've bucked the trend this cycle without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, we have.
So for me, when I look at, right, I've got a couple of kids, and wouldn't it be epic if they had the opportunity to stay here on the work on the Gold Coast? If they decided to have a professional career, that was something that couldn't occur 20 years ago. Very, very difficult. I feel today now with friends of mine that are in professional fields that are moving to the Gold Coast, you know, that have been in Hong Kong, Singapore, that are coming back here. I think we're going to see something pretty special happen to the Gold Coast and be really, really considered as an international city.
Yeah. Nice.
Really?
Thanks, Jayde. Appreciate your time today. Really appreciate the insight, and it's been awesome chatting.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.
Good to see you.
Cheers.
Cheers.